Hello, everybody, and welcome to our remote working series. Throughout this period of the coronavirus pandemic, we are pooling the resources and the experience that we have across the Midwest and tapping on the shoulders of some of the members of our community to ask them to share their learnings about remote working. And I'm really pleased to have with me now Noel Gavin, a Senior Vice President, Head of C&IS Global Learning at Northern Trust. Noel, how are you?
Very well today, Dee. Thanks very much. And yourself?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. Noel,
Glad to be here.
within your role, you have almost 10 years experience of managing remote and virtual teams. So you are exactly the person that we need to talk to today, because across the Midwest now, we're finding that business owners of various sizes have adjusted to phase one, if you like, of remote working. We've got our laptops, we've hooked ourselves up with our IT support, we're on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, we've made those decisions. We're finding our feet and finding our way through this period. And what I'm hearing from managers and business owners across the region now is we're ready to start thinking about productivity and improving our management of remote teams. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience of leading and managing a remote team?
Sure, I can, Dee. Delighted to be here again. Thanks very much for the opportunity. I suppose what I would talk about first and foremost is that to manage remotely, you're actually no longer managing the process. So people think about the process first quite often. I need to do A, B, C, and D. I need to do X, Y, and Z task. That's the most important thing. Actually, what I find is most important is understanding each individual person and understanding the challenges they're facing. They already know their tasks. So if issue invoices, whatever the task is, whatever the job is, they know how to do that. What you actually now need to discover in this virtual world is what's stopping them from doing it, whether it's broadband connectivity, whether it's childcare issues, whether it is the fact that they actually don't have a home working space set up. So yes, they may have access through Microsoft Teams, but are they perching a laptop on the side of a couch? Do they have an office desk somewhere or not? And is that a roadblock to them being able to do their job? So quite often what I have done is I've parked the task for the moment, and I've actually spoken to the individual and said, what's stopping you or preventing you from being able to succeed here and being able to do your job? And there's always solutions. And that will kind of lead me to my second point. If you're going to be absolutely rigid, it must be done this way by this time, you're going to face more roadblocks than you need to. So looking at your business and looking at your model and saying what actually is flexible and what is rigid, what must be done every day by 10 o'clock, and what's okay to be just done in the day. If it was done by 5 p.m., we're fine. And sort of reassessing that processing and reassessing the workflow, and basically matching people's capabilities and restrictions into the daily tasks, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does. That's a really interesting way of looking at it. And for people who are new to this now, are you finding that they have to actually adjust the allocation of tasks and duties? So within your team, then, are you finding that based on people's capabilities and not their intellectual and performance capabilities, but the actual physical capabilities, the constraints on them, are you finding that you're reallocating tasks and duties?
100%. So even, and I can specifically to my own team, which is delivering of learning, but even more broadly within the organization. So specifically in my own team, somebody delivering training remotely. So we do very much functional learning, process learning, system-based, and the actual tasks that we do in our jobs. You can do that remotely, but you have to think differently. So previously I would have had 15 people come into a room, they had PCs in front of them, we'd have taken them through the process, given them a chance to practice on keyboard skills, etc. All that. Now the person is sitting at home at their kitchen table, the trainer is sitting remotely at their kitchen table, and how do you now do that transfer of learning? So first of all, you can't do it for 8 hours. That's the end of that. You can no longer sit at your training table for 8 hours. It's just impossible. So what do you do then? What's the approach? Well, what we've done is we've broken things down. So we've given individuals work to do themselves at their own pace in advance of coming into the classroom. We've shortened the classroom down. We've reduced the numbers of people in the classroom. So what that means is you're still getting 1-to-1 or 1-to-5 attention instead of 1-to-15 attention. And the effectiveness of the learning is being transferred. Now, straight away, what it does mean is my productivity has gone down. So I used to have 15 people in the classroom. Now I've got 5. But if I had individuals doing work on their own, actually, it's getting more efficient in ways. So it's a balancing act, and it's just looking about how it works. The other thing that we've done is we've looked at our own team, and my team is 90 people spread across the globe. And we've said, what are your actual skills? What are the capabilities you have? And are they better placed doing a different job completely in the organization right now? And so over a third of my team have actually gone back into operations. So before, they would have been training people to work in operations, which meant they had the skill set and the knowledge of operations. So we've just moved them over. So they are facing off to our clients now. They're doing the tasks and the processing. They're involved in the operations. And what that has done is release the pressure within the operations teams, because obviously all that business had to move to home, become remote, become virtual, and they had to scramble as well. And so being able to bring extra bodies to the mix, release the resource pressure there. So again, sometimes it's not doing the same thing. Sometimes it's looking at your workforce, looking at your team and saying, actually, you could be better placed over here for the duration, and supporting the business that way.
That's excellent. Okay. So reimagining completely the assignment tasks and where people are best placed given their own constraints.
100%. I mean, ultimately, as a business owner or as a manager, what you're doing is you're stepping back and saying, what is absolutely core and what can be parked for a period of time. So it's really taking a short, medium, and long-term view of your business. Okay. This is essential for us to deliver a strategy that's 2 years from now. Well, if it's a 2-year out strategy, can we pause that for 2 months? Yeah. Can we accept a delay in our strategy delivery? And I think in a time of crisis like this, from a financial perspective and from an economic perspective, strategy, let's be honest, is parked.
Absolutely.
What we're looking at now is maintaining core business, supporting clients and supporting our employees, so that in 2 months, 3 months, whatever the time frame is, none of us know. But when you come to the end of that time frame, you're still a robust business, that you've supported your core client base, and that you've kept your key employees supported and maintained the whole way through the process. If you do that, you're coming out the other end a very robust business.
Yeah, that sounds like winning to me. That sounds like winning.
That's 100% gold. Yeah.
Noel, you touched on something there. Given the uncertainty and that we don't know how long we're going to be working in this way, or indeed, even if we do return to a changed workplace, whether we may be required to go back out again like this over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Organizational culture and maintaining what it is that makes Northern Trust through this period. How are you finding that, or what's your experience with that?
I think there's probably a couple of different approaches that need to be taken around that. So from a culture perspective, Northern actually responds really well in crisis, whatever it may be. And over 135 years of being in existence, there's been enough crises for us to flex that muscle and get used to it. And it's one of our core strengths. The individuals. Sorry, I'll pause there for a second. There's a great line, where we'll hire you for culture and we'll train you for skill. And that line is really, really important, I think. It shows the sort of the thread through the organization when it comes to culture. The most important thing is actually you as a person, your culture fit to the organization, the skill set we can support you on. But have you got the right mindset and attitude? As I was saying to you before, I'm 14 years in Northern Trust, and I've just seen that repeat over and over again. Whenever there is a minor blip and a global pandemic, whatever the scale of the crisis is, the first thing that happens is people rallying around and saying, what can I do to make this issue better? And invariably what happens is the culture of the organization focuses on those who are going to feel the pressure the most. And that's people in the front line who are doing the day-to-day activity, who are doing that client-based work, who are doing whatever it is the deliverable is. The rest of the organization wraps around them to say, what do you need to do and what can we do to help you through it. So from centrally, from within the corporate side of things, there's very clear communication. There's one voice. So rather than miscommunication or loads of different channels of communication and people interpreting information differently, there's one very clear communication channel coming out. And senior leadership are taking their guidance from their HR, from their finance people, from the client people, from whoever they need to take information from externally, and they're giving that information out. Very, very structured. The other thing that they're doing is if they're hearing a question coming up, they don't ignore it. They go, that's a question people are asking, answer it. And so an individual manager might have a query from their employee saying, what am I supposed to do about childcare while I'm working from home? So if one manager is hearing that question, every manager is. So the company says, we need to provide our managers with the information so they can support their teams. And there's a very clear answer to that question provided by corporate. And in the case of Northern Trust, what they have said is, don't take annual leave to cover childcare because of this situation. Take corporate time. Northern Trust will give you the time because you're in a situation where you can't work because of childcare. It's not anything you can control, so Northern Trust will take that on, not you. So there's very clear guidance. That particular example goes to the culture. Northern Trust is taking on that time. They're not saying to individuals, use up your holidays now to cover childcare. What they're actually saying is, we'll take care of it. And that feeds into the whole culture piece. So people instantly go, the company, this big corporate entity that's a name, is actually looking at me as an individual and supporting me. That's massive towards culture. At an individual team level, then I think you drill it down, and it is what is the culture of your team? Because there is a corporate culture, but there's also a team culture, and it varies depending on what team you're in. Are you a local team, a global team? Are you a virtual team already or not? So we've done some small things to try and maintain the social side, because I think one of the big things I've missed personally is meeting somebody in the corridor, meeting somebody at the kitchen when I make a cup of tea, just walking in the morning through the car park. It's all gone. And so you'll be amazed at how much work gets done in those 2 minutes. You even said it yourself earlier, Andy, those 2 minutes on the stairwell saying something to somebody. You pass off what needs to happen. Whereas now you're sitting there kind of going, I have a list of 10 things that I normally would have just sort of said to somebody that I passed them. I now need to formally communicate with them. It's an email, it's a phone call. That's a change. And so the social piece and how much actually gets done, how much productivity exists in the social piece, I think people have been surprised at how much they've lost there. But we've done small things to try and just maintain the fun side of work. So on Friday evenings, the team globally have to submit 2 songs each, and we create a Spotify playlist over the weekend. We've had different themes. We had cheesy tunes for a Monday morning and like all that kind of stuff. So people's guilty secrets were but it's
exposed.
Just, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were properly exposed. I won't tell you what my bad tunes were. But those small things, and I mean, there's a zero cost there. You're asking people to email 2 songs in, you create a Spotify playlist over the weekend, and you send an email out. But it creates a whole load of just interest and banter where people are kind of going, I know this was you. It's so cheesy, it has to be you. There's those kind of things. But the other thing is, it's actually connecting with individuals.
Yeah.
And back to that point I made at the very top of the call, where you would say to somebody, what's stopping you getting to what you need to do today, or this week, or actually how are you getting on? A couple of things, and back to that example about individuals sharing their story and then trickling upstream into the corporate side. We had a lot of individuals say, I find it difficult to explain to my child what COVID is. What does it mean? And so the corporate went out, and our marketing team did a bit of research, and they found 4 or 5 simple documents to explain COVID to a child. And they posted them up on our internal website as toolkits for parents who are trying to explain what COVID means to their kids. And
fantastic
they're simple tools, but it takes the pressure off the parent thinking, I need to get the right answer.
Yeah. And it recognises that the employee is more than just a worker bee, is within their own context and supports them within.
So I think it's key. And I think one of the things, and I know it's was probably not at the core of what business owners and managers are thinking about right now. But actually, if you're looking to build brand loyalty, whether it's internal with your employees or whether it's external with your clients right now, you'll be amazed at how much good can be done in a time of crisis, because people recognize what you did for them. Yes, it's not the norm, but a simple thing is putting up some job aids to help parents communicate to their kids about. So people kind of go, you took care of me. I wasn't just a widget who had to deliver a KPI. You recognized that I was somebody sitting at home with 2 kids, and I had to try and balance all my work life with that. And it definitely, I would say, will go to increasing that loyalty, that stickability with people after all this.
And I think the stories that we're hearing from across the area, we're seeing that's happening organically in companies, and it's I suppose it speaks to the goodness in people in a crisis that will rally around to support each other. But lovely ideas there for how you can actually bring that through the whole company with resources like that. I've also heard of other teams to try and bring in and introduce some of that social interaction during the day with their teams as they would normally have had in a physical workplace. They're doing virtual coffee breaks, so they're encouraging people to actually jump on a Zoom at a particular time to have a quick 15-20 minutes and a chat about nothing to do with work, but just check in with each other.
There's simple things, Steve, when you think about it, and you're right. I mean, we would have had a cup of tea or a cup of coffee during the day. You'd have had a chat leaning up against the counter in the kitchen area, just shooting the breeze. And I think that's really key. I think maintaining, and they can be done so simply. I mean, it is, as you say, Zoom or a WhatsApp call or a WhatsApp group. We did another one which is actually quite fun. Again, it was a social thing, and we used WhatsApp for this. We asked everyone to take a photograph of the view out of the nearest window to them at home. So for a lot of people, it might have been looking out into their back garden or looking out over on the street. If you live in a city centre, it's out in an apartment view. And so one person got all the pictures, and then we played a game of room with a view, and it was every day we'd go out and say, whose room is this? Or whose view is this?
That's brilliant.
It's simple, it's basic. I mean, it's almost, you kind of going, right, we're a group of professionals here, we're all in a certain but actually, ultimately, we still like having a bit of a laugh, being able to be sociable. Absolutely. And it was just a different way of being sociable. One person, it was quite funny, one person sent a picture of their family home, which was on a beach up in Donegal. So the house was built in the sand dunes. And the result of that was that everyone came back saying, don't care whose house it is, but that's where the summer party is going to be held. So there's, again, it's just about, I think, increasing connectivity and not having it always be about the current problem, whether the current problem is, dealing with clients or working remotely or virtually. Sometimes it's good just to step out and, as you say, have a coffee about nothing.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I really appreciate this chat, and I think there's loads there that people can take away and incorporate into their own work environment. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Noel Gavin, Northern Trust.
Thanks, Dee. Take care.